What happens when a Jehovah's Witness lawyer lies to the federal judge and gets caught? Well, this is a story about Philip Brumley, Watchtower's top legal mind. He was sanctioned for deceiving a court, but even now after the settlement and after the silence, he's trying to crawl back. He's trying to get back into the legal system. Why? Well, he wants to protect the organization, and that comes first. That comes before telling the truth. Well, Philip Brumley, he isn't just any lawyer. He's been the general counsel for the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of Pennsylvania for over 30 years. He's appeared in court cases worldwide, arguing for religious rights, clergy privilege, and Watchtower's legal immunity. So, JW.org, they even featured him as their legal hero. But behind the suits and the speeches, he's just a man who got caught misleading the federal judge. So we're going to take a look at one of Watchtower's clips on Russia and how they portray Philip Brumley here on this Russia deal. Just hang on.
Whether Russia will comply with this decision. But even if it does not, this decision is legally binding on the 46 countries who have submitted to the jurisdiction of the European Court. Thus, the rights of over 1.5 million Jehovah's Witnesses who live in these lands are better protected than ever. But even more, because the European Court is held in such high regard, this decision will have great weight before high courts worldwide. We thank Jehovah for this historic victory, this resounding victory from the European Court.
We are confident that regardless of what the secular authorities do, Jehovah is going to continue to be with our brothers.
Well, there you have Philip Brumley. That's Watchtower's counsel. That was a video on Watchtower regarding Russia, but I wanted to give you guys a little sample of how he talks, who he is, if this is brand new for you. Now, a lot of this stuff has been around for a few years. We've actually done some broadcasts on this. And this is on this Montana case. They're CSA victims in Montana. And this all went to court in front of a jury. The jury awarded the victims $35 million. Watchtower appealed it based on clergy privilege, clergy penitent privilege. It got thrown out. Some time went by. Montana changed their laws, opened the clergy penitent privilege, threw that kind of out. The girls brought it back to court, and this is what happened. Watchtower started lying. So let's just take a look at what Watchtower said in court. This is what got them into trouble with Brumley. They're using Brumley as their puppet. Watchtower attached an affidavit from the counsel Philip Brumley. Mr. Brumley made several statements, including that Watchtower does not conduct business in Montana and is never has been registered to carry on business in Montana. That Watchtower has no contract. That's Watchtower, Pennsylvania, right? The governing body. They have no contract with congregations of Jehovah's Witnesses located in Montana. The plaintiffs responded and presented several documents which the plaintiffs argued dispute Brumley's statements. But Watchtower then filed a second affidavit from Brumley in which Brumley stated that he has direct knowledge of the information and that the documents permitted do not invalidate his earlier statement. So the Watchtower stuck their feet in. They died on this one. And they said, no, we don't do business in Montana. So then what happened is all these other things came up. Now, on this one here, after it was all exposed, this is what the court system said. They said the plaintiffs argue sanctions are appropriate here because Brumley and Taylor Look at these words, folks. They vexatiously and recklessly multiplied the proceedings by 17 months due to the use of Brumley's affidavit as a support for Watchtower's motion to dismiss. And then it goes on to say that specifically, plaintiffs claim Brumley's affidavit contains false and misleading statements that were then used as the sole evidentiary basis for Watchtower's motion for dismissal. So basically, they were using lies. They were lying in court to get Watchtower their motions for dismissal. And this went on for 17 months. And then the defendant finally started exposing them. Now, I'm going to bring you to Avoid JW. They did a really good write-up on this. And we covered it a while back. But they got some of the receipts here that I was looking for, these letters. These are the letters that the ladies start exposing them. And I think they had some help from different ones. I think in this article it said they had help from Mark O'Donnell in this case. If it wasn't for Mark O'Donnell assisting the victims, he helped a lot with getting these papers and helping them put this together. Now, I'm going to look at two letters that were on here. There's about 5 or 6, and they became part of the exhibits, the documents filed, just to show that Watchtower filed affidavits themselves. This Don Adams guy, he was sworn in, and he's the assistant secretary treasurer of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, and he's familiar with everything he says. And he says, this is the parent organization, here's what he told the court in an affidavit, of all the congregations of Jehovah's Witnesses in the United States, including the Bahamas congregations located in Bonham, Texas. Well, this is regarding a certain area, Bonham, Texas. And what else did he say? He says a governing body at present comprises of 13 men at that time, and they direct all the teaching, preaching, disciple-making, and congregational activities of Jehovah's Witnesses, folks, throughout the world. Not just Montana, but throughout the world. And they have an organized to accomplish their ministry book, the Watchtower. They have their elders book. We all know the secret elders book. And regarding the position of the governing body, they're organized to accomplish their ministry all over the world. So they will implement their decisions, it says here. The governing body uses, it's a hierarchical organization together with corporate entities. It's all men. And when appropriate, to accomplish its worldwide work, teachings, and declaring the good news. So you and I, folks, we know this is true. This guy spoke honestly. This is one of Watchtower's people. He spoke honestly. He was in court. He just said it the way it is. But guess what, folks? All these documents are filed from various court cases. So this gets pulled into this court. This guy is credible. He filed this. Now what? Well, they argued here that they didn't. They have no jurisdiction. We read it. The court. They told the court that they have nothing to do with Montana. But here, this secretary of the Watchtower says, "We run the world. We run the world." So imagine the courts, right, folks? And folks, the courts are just being brought up to speed on Jehovah's Witnesses. Let's be clear here. Jehovah's Witnesses have been lying in court, like Brumley has been head of this, for decades, for 30 years. They've been using strategic theocratic warfare to lie in court, to allow them to beat the court system. Now here's another letter. This is a letter from the writing committee, and this is to the Australian branch. And this again proves, all their letters, like you and I know, we've been in the congregation. For any of us that have been in the congregation, we all know that the Watchtower, the governing body, they run the show. And here in Montana, they're trying to say that they don't. So in this letter, it says, If the governing body decides not to write a letter about this to the congregations, we'll send you additional information when the study of the governing body is completed. We hope it will be soon. So they're looking into this child abuse thing, and the governing body's telling the congregations, we're going to get back to you, we're going to look into this, we're going to make the decisions. And it's all of these letters, folks, that has really put Brumley in this position. It's really made him a liar in court. So let's just go back to that piece of law there, or that court paper. This is from the United States District Court, Rowland and Schultz against the Watchtower. And this is the Watchtower. This is what they're saying. The Watchtower does not conduct business in Montana, and it is not and never has been registered to carry on business in Montana. The Watchtower has no contracts with congregations of Jehovah's Witnesses located in Montana. So I don't know if Montana is a little bit different than the whole world, but the Watchtower had to eat those words. So how do you eat those words? Well, they get subpoenaed. They get sanctioned. They have to put out money. So they had to pay for all of this, and they were sanctioned. Okay, so this is an article, Jehovah's Witnesses settled the historic child abuse case in federal court. And this is on jwchildabuse.org. This is the site. What does it say? It says, Billings, Montana, July 10th, 2024. After more than 5 years of investigation, litigation, depositions, and multiple fines, sanctions against the Jehovah's Witnesses, 2 federal court child abuse cases have reached a confidential settlement. So, folks, this is where Watchtower settles out of court. They get NDAs done, and they like to keep things silent. They know they've lost. So the multiple victims of abuse allege that they suffered at the hands of numerous elders, ministerial servants in the Hardin, Montana during the 1970s and the 80s, and that these allegations were known to countless other elders, circuit overseers, district overseers, and men who operate the legal and service departments at the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses. But both cases were scheduled for consecutive trials in August and September, and the sudden settlement signals the end of litigation and a small measure of justice for the targets of these men and the organization that failed to notify law enforcement of these alleged crimes. The Jehovah's Witnesses crippled their chances to stand innocent at trial in both cases due to legal practices that drove federal judge Susan Waters insane. Well, it doesn't say that. To issue a series of sanctions and penalties for judicial misconduct. Some of these sanctions included instructions to the jury in both the Kakert and Rowland cases that the Jehovah's Witnesses intentionally destroy key documents and notes when creating memorandums or summaries of child abuser data held in the church archives in New York. So this was told right to the jury, these sanctions. Now, that would tell the jury that they're guilty. Like they had no chance. That's why they settled. Now, during the course of this case, Watchtower's chief counsel, Philip Brumley, was fined more than $154,000. Now, folks, this article has all the receipts on it. I'm attaching it to this video, this particular article. Now, he was fined more than $154,000 for his role in misleading the court by filing 2 false and deceptive affidavits. And we read that. Now, Brumley appealed these sanctions to the Ninth Circuit, but the appellate court upheld his fines. While these settlements come with non-disclosure agreement attached, the amount of the pretrial knowledge gained during the past 5 years will be instrumental in helping countless other victims of abuse within the JW Church. It will also provide a historical analysis of the extent of child abuse and for the reasons for the lack of reporting among Jehovah's Witnesses compelled by the policies of its governing body and their lawyers. So the governing body runs it. They still have them calling the legal department. It should be automatically, when it's child abuse, automatically the elders phone the police and report it. But that's not how it works. So the references below provide insight into the development of these cases. They're filed against two key defendants, the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of New York and the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of Pennsylvania. Both corporations have served as legal arms of the witnesses since 1909 and 1884, respectively. And the JW strenuously objected to the inclusion of the Pennsylvania Corporation as a defendant by offering up their long-standing legal department chief counsel, Philip Brumley, to swear that the Pennsylvania Corporation had no connections whatsoever to the governance or involvement in any congregation activities in Montana during the relevant periods of abuse in Hardin, Montana. While unbeknownst to the Jehovah's Witness, critical documents surfaced that contradicted Brumley's claims and demonstrated that during the 1970s and 80s, the administration of the Watchtower, Pennsylvania, consisted almost entirely of the governing body members of the church. And these men were the same members who set the policies, directed the organization, appointed elders throughout the 70s, the 80s, and beyond. And the church strongly resisted those allegations. So Watchtower strongly resisted this, causing a delay in litigation that lasted more than 17 months, folks. 17 months. That's over a year. Wasting critical time and resources for all the parties, including the Montana federal court system. Well, ultimately, the Jehovah's Witnesses withdrew their motion to dismiss Watchtower, Pennsylvania from the case. The plaintiffs followed by demanding financial compensation for the extensive legal work performed by their team of lawyers and paralegals. So Judge Susan Waters agreed with the plaintiffs and awarded more than $154,000 in fines against Philip Brumley and Watchtower. So Brumley hired a new team of attorneys, and he's appealed this decision to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. The fines were paid. And note, while Philip Brumley has paid the fines levied against him, the appeal that Brumley filed was the K. Curtin Rowland cases were still active, was technically dismissed because it was considered premature by the court. So he had already tried to appeal it, but they dismissed it because these cases weren't settled. Well, now that both sides have reached a settlement, these cases have been, Watchtower settled them out of court, folks. And they were $35 million, the original go-around. I'd like to be a fly in the wall, but I bet you those cases are a lot higher. They'd have to be. Look at all the wait time. Look at all the re-going back to court. They'd have to be substantially higher. So Brumley is allowed to refile his appeal, which will be considered by the appellate court on its merits. And here are the updated appellate appeal documents. So it's showing here, and we're going to take a look. But here's all the key documents, folks. There's literally hundreds of documents on this court case. So it'll be attached if you guys want to see the receipts for everything we're talking about. How Watchtower has been sanctioned for lying and misleading the courts. This is unheard of. So if you're in the Watchtower, this is what's going on behind the closed doors. So now here's the most recent thing. I'll just bring you back to my screen. This is what instigated this whole video today, because a lot of what I'm talking about is old news, but it's not done yet, and that's what we're letting you know. March 12th, 2025. This is just last month. Well, it's May now, so it's just a month ago. Here we have it, the hearing notice filed by his lawyer for Philip Brumley. And this is going to be in San Francisco. This is the acknowledgement of the hearing notice. So this case with Brumley isn't over yet. Brumley wants to be a lawyer again for Watchtower. Watchtower probably wants to bring Brumley up in front of us all and show what kind of a hero he is. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next with this case. Well, folks, the damage is done. The courts caught on to Watchtower. And now what's happening in New York? The governing body themselves are being depositioned. They're going to be questioned regarding child sex abuse. The governing bodies themselves. And the court acknowledged it. So we're watching that case closely, folks. We did a video a couple of weeks back on it. What's happening in the court system and with Watchtower is getting kind of exciting. So, the case knocked the Watchtower off its feet. There's no PR campaign that Watchtower has that will ring that bell again, that will make them clean. All this damage is done. It's all documented in the court systems all over the world. Well, folks, subscribe if you believe the truth matters more than theocratic image. And remember, keep living your life with love. We'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.